Is Garrett Wilson a top 10 dynasty wide receiver moving forward? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Marcus Mosher and Kate Magdziuk.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. We would like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That is prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. I am Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. She is Kate Magdziuk. You can follow her on Twitter at FFBallblast. Kate, what is going on?
Happy Monday, everybody. We have survived yet another week in the NFL. We've got a lot to talk about, but Marcus, you hinted at the top of the show. One of the things I'm most anxious to talk about is Garrett Wilson, the Jets passing offense. This team is rolling, but especially so is Garrett Wilson, and he's just absolutely dominating without Zach Wilson on the field. Let's talk about Garrett Wilson and where he fits into our dynasty rankings, because I think we've got a lot of promising young rookies here coming out of this 2022 draft class.
Yeah.
And they're all just eking into the top 15.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, another big performance in this game. 8 catches for 162 yards. Frankly, Kate, looked like the best player on the field. So dynamic in the open field. Over the last 5 games, averaging almost 100 yards receiving per game. And I actually appreciate, we were kind of talking about Garrett Wilson. Do you think he is a top 10 receiver? And we started going through the names. He is currently being ranked on Dynasty League Football as wide receiver 16. I'll just give you some of the names that are ahead of them, and you tell me what you think. Drake London.
I will take Garrett Wilson.
Chris Olave.
I will take
That's closer than I thought, but I would take Wilson just because I think he's a little bit more dynamic in the open field.
It's gonna be a 1A, 1B for me.
That's fine. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I will take Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. Another 110-yard game, 2 touchdowns.
Casual looking.
I know.
So casual while doing it.
A couple other ones. DK Metcalf.
That's probably the line for me, is DK Metcalf, who I've got just slightly ahead. There's lots of other names in that similar range. Michael Pittman, Deebo Samuel,
Sure.
Chris Godwin. I'll take Garrett Wilson over all of these guys. And, I think the biggest question mark, of course, comes down to the quarterback position, because the splits with and without Zach Wilson are absolutely horrifying. Horrifying. Averaging almost 20 points per game in his 4 contests without Zach Wilson. I think we have to assume that this Jets offense is officially putting Zach Wilson in the rearview mirror, right? Because that directly impacts the dynasty value of Garrett Wilson for me.
I don't see Zach Wilson starting another game for the Jets unless it's like a meaningless Week 18 game. And if he does, it probably means that he got significantly better in practice. But I don't know if you're the Jets, how you can let him back on the field with the way that Mike White's at least been throwing the ball down the field and has looked competent. I think Garrett Wilson just looks so good with anybody besides Zach Wilson at quarterback. We should also just mention, from the Jets, we're staying on here, Zonovan Knight, who got to start in this game, 15 carries for 90 yards. Also caught 5 passes for 28 yards. He's not a threat to take away, carries from Breece Hall next year or anything like that, but he's just a nice player.
He's a nice player. I think he's flex worthy rest of season. And Marcus, like I was a little bit nervous about Knight in this matchup, especially against the Minnesota Vikings, who have been a pretty strong rushing defense. So to do what he did in 55% of team offensive snaps, like to be as efficient as he was, I think you've just got to be generally impressed that um, this is what you're getting from this team. They're a team with depth. I mean, even Corey Davis, for crying out loud, 85 receiving yards, 5 receptions on 10 targets. This offense is humming, and I mean, obviously, it's humming without Zach Wilson. And
Yeah.
I think as long as he stays as far away from this team as possible, we're gonna have an interesting group because this is even down to the wire without like Breece Hall, without Michael Carter. This offense has a chance to be extremely productive in the years to come as long as they figure out the answer at quarterback.
All right, let's move over to Seattle, a team that you're pretty
Yeah.
excited about. Geno Smith, 28 of 39 for 367 yards and 3 touchdowns. Did have 1 interception, but the receivers went wild in this game. Tyler Lockett, 9 for 128 in the score. DK Metcalf, 8 for 127 in a touchdown. Even Noah Fant got in on the action, 4 for 42 in a touchdown. I mean, other than Kenneth Walker, all of your Seahawks smashed this week.
And Kenneth Walker injured. So Geno Smith, QB 13 or better in 9 of 12 games this season. He's one of just 4 quarterbacks to have more than 3 games this year with 300 plus passing yards and 2 or more passing touchdowns. You know who the other quarterbacks are in that list, Marcus? It's Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. That is
Pretty
who
good
Geno
company.
Smith is sitting among in this. It's pretty good company. I want to talk about his dynasty value right now. In the most recent batch of Dynasty ADP, he was drafted on average as QB 15. And I think that feels like pretty decent value for a quarterback who I think has earned the starting role in this offense. He's playing out of his mind. Saw some frustration there yesterday in week 13, but overall, I think he's really done a lot to earn this starting job. You're tied to DK Metcalf. You're tied to Tyler Lockett. Why would we conceive that this team is going to move on from Geno Smith when they handed him the keys to start the year and he's done nothing to lose them?
And he's been a fantastic leader. So he's a free agent after the year. They're going to bring him back on a big deal, as they should. And with some of the uncertainty now in San Francisco, now that Jimmy Garoppolo is out for the year, the Seahawks are a game and a half back of the 49ers. Maybe they catch them and win the division. Wouldn't that be something if the Seattle Seahawks win the NFC West this year? It'd be pretty fun. All right, we got more winners that we want to talk about, Kate. But before we do that, we want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Total Wine and More. This holiday season, find what you love at Total Wine and More. With so many great bottles to choose from, it's easy to find a new favorite single barrel bourbon or the perfect gift for everyone on your list with some help from a friendly guy. Do you have a favorite bourbon, Kate?
No.
Or a favorite whiskey? I'm a Woodford Reserve guy myself, but that's fine. Well,
I'm more of a vodka girl. I'm more of those clear.
There you go.
I'm more.
Well,
of
they
a
have
clear,
vodka as well, so we're good.
Of course they do. My one-stop shop. That's the beauty of Total Wine and More, though, is that there's something for everybody.
And all with the confidence of knowing that you can find something special for the lowest, absolutely the lowest price available. You'll love what you find only at Total Wine and More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly. Be 21. We also want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Simply Safe. We believe home is where you should feel the most safe, especially over the holidays. This season, give yourself and your family the gift of peace and protection with the #1 rated home security system, Simply Safe. And right now, Simply Safe is offering Locked On Dynasty listeners 40% off a new security system. But don't put this off. Go do this right now. They have emergency 24/7 professional monitoring agents that use Fast Protect technology exclusively from Simply Safe to capture critical evidence and verify that a threat is real so you can get higher priority police response. Simply Safe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. They have HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that alert you only when a threat is real. And they even have hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. They have 24/7 professional monitoring service that costs under $1 a day, less than half of the price of traditional home security systems. Don't miss your chance to save big on our favorite security system. Get 40% off any new system at simplysafe.com/LockedOnNFL today. That is simplysafe.com/LockedOnNFL. There is no safe like Simply Safe. All right, Kate, let's do some more winners. Should we talk about you want to talk about the Eagles a little bit? I mean, that whole team is just a winner, but Jalen Hurts, 380 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, also had a rushing touchdown. AJ Brown goes off against his former team with 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith is over 100 yards on a touchdown. I mean, everybody on this team is just smashing for fantasy right now.
Smash, smash, smash. Like there's nothing to talk about from a dynasty perspective, I think, because you're buying into all these guys. I want to talk, I think the player that I find most interesting right now, Marcus, is Miles Sanders, who that's kind of the one piece right now that is not necessarily going to be with this team long term. We have had a lot of productive weeks for a guy who literally told fantasy managers not to draft him. He's been performing quite well, and he's about to hit free agency next year, Marcus. So I was looking at the list of free agent running backs. I encourage you to pull them up, but let's take a look at that list because
I think I got to memorize at this point.
I think Miles Sanders is in a really interesting position among that free agent group. And if he lands in the right spot, like based off what we've seen so far, I mean, we could have ourselves a true value at the running back position for dynasty managers. It's not like he's got a high touch total.
It feels like he's going to end up back in Philadelphia on a 1-year deal, right?
I could picture that. I could even picture the franchise tag if they can't necessarily come to I could picture them applying that franchise tag, seeing if they could come to some sort of agreement. But he feels like such a good fit for this offense and what they want to accomplish right now. But I mean, Marcus, several games with 2 games of 130 plus rush yards and 2 or more touchdowns. Like,
yeah.
What are the chances that he actually told us not to draft him ahead of fantasy this year? I'm disappointed in you, Mr. Miles Sanders, because I think we didn't give you enough credit, and I want to boost your confidence level a little bit. But
it is going to be interesting to see what happens to him, Kate, because you mentioned all the running backs that are scheduled to be free agents. It doesn't mean all of them are going to hit free agency, but it's Saquon Barkley, who he's going to get a big deal. There's Tony Pollard, who we can talk about him in just a second, but starting to play well. There's David Montgomery. There's Josh Jacobs, who's probably going to be an all-pro selection this year. There Damian Harris, who we know is a good player. I mean, those are just the guys off the top of my head that I know are scheduled to be free agents. Feels like there's a good chance that Sanders gets kind of stuck here a little bit, and he has to go back to Philadelphia on like a 1-year, $4.5 million type of deal.
And Marcus, if that's the case, like right now, on average, being drafted as RB20, that feels like a really nice price for this guy who's going to be in the mix with this powerhouse of an offense. I'm gonna buy Miles Sanders right now. 25 years old. We've seen the upside. We've seen the upside of this offense in particular. If, like you said, I can easily picture him returning, and if he does, boy, oh boy, we've got ourselves another RB season, or RB1 season, and you don't have to pay RB1 price right now.
No. Another running back that's performing like an RB1, even though he might not be RB1 on his own team, Tony Pollard, who we just mentioned. Kate, he technically got the start in this game. Ezekiel Elliott did not start due to some disciplinary problems, I guess, that happened throughout the week. But Tony Pollard, 12 carries, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns, also added in 2 catches for 15 yards. Kate, on the season, despite only starting, I think this is his 3rd game starting, he's already over 1,100 total yards and double-digit touchdowns. I mean, we know that he's a free agent. I think the Cowboys would like to have him back, but where are we valuing Tony Pollard, who continues to look like one of the best 2 or 3 running backs in the league?
I made my prediction yesterday that, when it comes to what kind of long-term pricing these running backs are going to get in this upcoming free agent class. Obviously, we don't know who will officially become a free agent. I think Tony Pollard's going to grab a bag. Like, there is no chance in HE double hockey sticks that Tony Pollard ends up back with the Cowboys, Marcus, and that's because he's doing his damn job. Yeah. Like, there's no chance. 4 top 5 RB performances this year. Yep. 4 top 5 performances, technically as a backup. 3 games of 100+ rushing yards, 80 or more rushing yards in 7 of his 12 games. Like, this is like what he is accomplishing in the limited touch volume is absolutely incredible. I'm 100% buying Tony Pollard. I think he's going to end up a very well-paid running back come free agency. And I think he's going to be featured somewhere. And I don't think that there's really any offense that, bad or good, that's going to slow him down. He's just, when he touches the ball, good things happen. And I'm willing to, let's maybe play a little rankings game, Marcus. Sure. Does that sound fun?
I love it.
All right. Tony Pollard or Javonte Williams?
Tony Pollard.
All right. That starts off. That lets you know how strong we're starting off here. Tony Pollard or Joe Mixon?
Pollard. Samaje Perine looks good. I don't know if I could go back to Mixon full time if I'm the Bengals. Like, I'm kind of joking.
Perine looks really good. No, Samaje Perine actually looks absolutely incredible. Tony Pollard or Dameon Pierce?
Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard or Ramondre Stevenson?
Tony Pollard.
Okay, Marcus. You're kind of valuing Tony Pollard right around like RB10.
Yeah.
How about Tony Pollard or Najee Harris?
Surprising. Tony Pollard is just a little bit older than Najee. I'll go Tony Pollard.
Wow. Okay, Marcus, he's a top 10 running back for you, bud. Congratulations.
The thing is he's already been a top 10 running back this year, and that's not even with a full workload. So whether
that's
he's
as a backup.
As a backup, he's been a top 10 running back this year in terms of production. Kate, do you know yesterday he scored his 5th touchdown of 30 or more yards this season? Do you know how many 30 or more yard touchdowns Ezekiel Elliott has since 2017?
I'm going to guess 1.
2. And Zeke scores a lot of touchdowns, and Pollard already has 5 of those this year. Like, he's just so dynamic. By the way, throughout his career, he currently has the highest yards per carry of any running back in NFL history. Like, he's just legit good. I think he's going to end up staying in the Cowboys for at least another year on maybe a franchise tag, maybe
interesting
1 year, $12 million deal.
I think he earned more than that.
He might. There's a chance. That's going to be the interesting thing is how many teams, and let's just do this really quickly. How many teams do you think are going to be interested in spending big money at the running back position next year? Because look, seriously, we'll go through the teams. Obviously, the Cowboys will consider the Giants.
My presumption is that they bring Saquon back on the franchise tag.
Philadelphia.
Like we said, I think they bring back Miles Sanders.
Washington, no, because of Brian Robinson. I would say the Bears likely not, but they could just bring back David Montgomery or something similar to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, no. Green Bay, no. Minnesota, no. Atlanta,
I can see Atlanta.
okay.
Um,
Carolina,
they're Carolina. I could see it, but they've got bigger needs. I'm gonna go ahead, Marcus, and I'm gonna make my pick. All right, and I
yeah.
want you to tell me what you think of this fit. I think Tony Pollard is going to be a Miami Dolphin in 2023.
Ooh, ooh, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Okay, I kind of want that to happen.
RB1,
Maybe,
baby, RB1. And tell me he doesn't fit that perfect, like Kyle Shanahan, like type of running back, that explosive playmaker who can just break one off at any given moment. Like he feels like a Miami Dolphin right now. And Marcus, if he's a Miami Dolphin, he is truly an RB1. And I'm all over that. Bold prediction there for
might be RB1, not a
the
RB1, the
he
RB1.
might be the RB1. So quick, guys, go buy Tony Pollard
Yeah,
before
Go A's just so stinking good.
he's
All
so
right,
stinking good. This is
let's get
officially the Tony Pollard podcast.
yeah, let's get to some losers from week 13. But before we do
Oh,
that, we want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by Prize Picks, also sponsored by Simply Safe. But Prize Picks, how does it work? All you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, boxing, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. They are currently operational in over 30 states and in Canada. Download the Prize Pick app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, they'll give you 100. If you deposit 50, they'll give you 50. It's really that easy. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. All right, Kate, biggest losers from week 13.
all right, gotta be Jimmy Garoppolo, who we were like
Yeah.
I think seeing like some fantasy relevance here, but Marcus, this entire team just there's no ability to stay healthy. But like Jimmy Garoppolo, I honestly don't know what this team does with Jimmy Garoppolo. He just can't stay healthy. And I mean, there's something to be said. The fact that he's been with the San Francisco 49ers and there's just been one season that he's been able to complete. 2021 played 15 games. Like there's I don't know what you do with Jimmy Garoppolo long term. He's not like a fantasy asset, but I do think he's been serviceable as a QB2 with some upside, at least in this system. I think we have to consider the fact that uh maybe this is the end for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It is a bummer, and it's not like anybody was really starting Jimmy Garoppolo for upside here, but I do think that he's performed well enough as a QB2 that it's a bummer. But an interesting turn of events I think we're about to see in this 49ers offense.
We should also just mention the Colts. Jonathan Taylor looked good when he was given chances, but everybody else in this passing game, I mean, Michael Pittman, 2 for 16 yards. Jelani Woods, 2 for 28 and a fumble. Paris Campbell had a couple of big plays. Like they're just so held back from the quarterback. And I just don't know when it's going to get any better anytime soon. It's frustrating.
Speaking of, I want to go back to the 49ers real quick because
Sure.
I think on the back of Jimmy Garoppolo, I want to tag this conversation with Deebo Samuel because I think there's probably no player that I'm as confused about as Deebo Samuel right now on the season, on track for just under 900 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns.
I think he's banged up. I think that I think it's really as simple as that. I just don't think he's healthy.
But this is an offense that's got so many different weapons, so
It's
many like
true.
it's a next man up system. So when you have Deebo Samuel who's banged up, what do you do with that? And what's his upside when he's not utilized as a rusher? Um,
I
where are
mean, you
you
have to
currently
start him.
valuing
You have to
Deebo?
start him every week. I'm probably willing to buy a little bit low on him if somebody is nervous that he's wearing down or whatever, but it's not great.
He's been kind of sitting in that like top 10 to top 15 range in dynasty startup ADP, and looking at the guys around him like a Garrett Wilson, looking at um you know eh, even Derrick Henry, like ye old Derrick Henry, Travis Kelsey, Drake London, I'll take him ahead. I don't really know what the upside is for Deebo Samuel right now. I mean, even Devontae Adams being drafted on average behind Deebo Samuel right now, and give me Devontae Adams
I mean, Adams is
nine.
he's gonna be 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns for the rest of his life. He might be 40 years old and still out there getting it.
Yeah, and yet Deebo's kind of got that edge in terms of dynasty startup ADP. I don't think for long, but interesting player to be watching in terms of his valuation because the upside hasn't been there this year.
I got one more dynasty loser before we leave. Marcus Mariota. Not that you were all that high on him, anyways.
No,
We've been waiting for Desmond Ridder. Kate, I unfortunately watched every play of that Steeler Falcon
so
game,
sorry.
and
Yeah.
there were receivers running open against the Steelers secondary, and there were guys getting wide open, and Mariota was just missing them. And if Mariota was average in this game, they beat the Steelers. They do. I mean, Mariota just played that poorly on Sunday.
My question is, when do we like? Is it
It's next
soon
week.
that we see him? Is it like, because I've been waiting I was just tweeting about this earlier today. Every single Monday, Marcus, Desmond Ridder is trending. Every single Monday on Twitter, Desmond Ridder is trending. And it's because people are calling to see the rookie quarterback. If you told me Brock Purdy was going to be taking snaps ahead of
Skylar
Desmond Ridder
Thompson,
this year, Skylar Thompson taking snaps at
Bailey Zappi.
if you would have told me any of these names, Marcus, I would have told you you're out of your damn mind. And now I think, should have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Are you buying the real question is like Marcus Mariota? Nobody had stock in Marcus Mariota. Are you buying Desmond Ridder right now before he takes the field? Because I think either your Desmond Ridder shares will tank or they will skyrocket. And there is literally no in between for me. So what are you doing? Are you buying? Are you selling?
I'm gonna
I'm
buy.
buying.
I'm
I'm
buying.
buying.
The reason why is because I'm telling you, even without Kyle Pitts yesterday, they had guys running wide open. I don't think Arthur Smith forgot how to call plays, and he was designing a ton of play action throws across the middle of the field. Guys were getting open deep, and Mariota was just airmailing them. So I think there's a chance Ritter comes in and plays the final 4 games of the season, right? Because I think the Falcons are on a bye this week. They get him ready. He looks competent, and then going into next year, he's the full-time starter in an offense. It's not going to be a high volume passing offense, but allows him to be efficient, allows him to use his legs a little bit. Yeah, I think I am buying Ritter right now.
Desmond Ridder, I loved his decision making out of Cincinnati. He's got the mobility. He's an incredible athlete. And you know what? Coming into 2023, should he get that chance to start, he's got Kyle Pitts, he's got Drake London, he's got a lot of promising assets. Who knows? Maybe he has Tony Pollard in at running back. Who knows? I just think it's time to buy Desmond Ridder, and I want to do it before we get to see a sample of his work on the field.
All right, that is it for today's show. Thank you for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find our podcast on YouTube. Please go check our podcast out wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on YouTube. You can follow Kate on Twitter at FFBallBlast. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Matt and Ryan will be back on Tuesday and Wednesday. Kate, I think you and I are on for Thursday and Friday. Enjoy the week. Enjoy Monday Night Football. We'll see you guys next time.